Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. The plan for today is a little bit different from the things I normally show on this channel. Of course it is still a bonsai themed topic. However, I'm trying a little experiment today. I have this little Ficus ginseng plug that you can find in many garden centers or even box stores. And don't get me wrong, they are interesting looking, but they're not really the best material for bonsai, I would say, because they are, first of all, not even grafted. So this is the original variety that is from the root base here, which starts to get quite big leafed. And yeah, the root base itself is of course very gnarled, at some point interesting looking, but nevertheless not really traditionally fitting for bonsai. So my goal today is to combine this little Ficus microcarpa plug with probably some cuttings that I have from Ficus benjamina and Ficus microcarpa as well, and see if we can somehow create a nice looking tree or constellation out of this. So the goal is really to somehow combine this, to maybe intertwine them here through the different roots of this Ficus ginseng and see how this is actually going to look like. And for that, we're gonna pot them in a bigger pot, of course, together, where they will then continue to grow over the next couple of months and years. I have prepared a soil mixture based off coco coir and some inorganic soil. So there's clay pebbles, there's pumice, there's perlite in here to create an airy mixture that nevertheless also is storing the water quite well, because we do have water propagations here. And what I try to avoid is that we oversee or overlook that we need to water, and then these roots of course would be damaged if they dry out too fast now when they are used to being in water the full time basically. So let's start actually by removing this little plastic pot the plug came in. We will also use the soil that is in here. It is also coco coir, so why not adjust this and add it to our mixture that we already have prepared here, which means we can simply break this off into this pot here. Let's see if we can use all the soil or if it would actually be too full then. And let's see what root base we have on this tree and how deeply potted it was, because that also is often the case that they pot them quite deeply. And then you suddenly, when you take them out, realizing how much root base that was actually still covered by the soil with this Ficus ginseng, and that is definitely the case here as well. So I think I don't want more than this. I'm gonna mix in the soil here a little bit. To just get a good idea of how much soil we have at hand. So let me just really mix this in. I have also some of the clay pebbles of course on top here, so it's not only this coco coir. So I think that is a good mixture. And let me clean the rest of the soil off of this tree. Doesn't have to be all cleaned off like we would pot in inorganic soil, because we do keep it in organic soil. We have some roots here that also seem to be viable on this little part, which is good. But yeah, you can see it was again potted quite deeply. We have some roots here, up here, that we could definitely use. And down here we have again a very long root base. So this is almost as deep as this pot. And I find it a bit too deep, to be honest. So I'm thinking of going back to this roots here. Here we have some smaller roots that we could also go back to. So as these are very hardy, and I know you can work very harshly on these roots and they still come back and they still thrive and survive, we're going to take out some of these roots and also go down here to some of these higher roots, I would say. Still leaves us some root mass on this tree definitely, so it's less than before, but it is enough to work still with it. And this way we can pot it then later on. But for potting it, first we also need to decide which of these little propagations we want to take in as well. And we have, I think, 3 in here that have already started to take root. This one that fell out right now doesn't have roots yet, so that is definitely out of the question. This one is quite tall, so we might wrap this around a little bit, but it has roots. This has a lot of root mass as well, and the third one down here also has some roots. So how could this look like, and how do I envision this? So I'm really trying to somehow intertwine them in here to create a nice, interesting look for these trees. Because sooner or later I want to remove then the growth that actually comes from here, or most of the growth that comes from here, and simply have those very better fitting Ficus benjamina varieties that are actually taking over the tree then. So how could we intertwine this, for example? We could really go somewhat crazy here and go like something like, let me see if we can get this higher a little bit. So really trying to let this grow over here, almost looking like a vine that is slowly making its way across this other tree. Maybe let's get a little bit higher, or actually use a different one as a hook. So let me see how we could do that. If we come from underneath here and intertwine it like this, and coming rather from this side, we can already add this little tree here. We might also tie this in later. Let me see if we adjust the other ones around here, how we could also tie this in then. This one could look nice from the back here actually. So if we have one from the back, one from this side, and this one here with a bit of movement already coming here from the back where this other one also is meeting. But maybe we even only need to, maybe we leave this one out. Let me put it back in the water for now. And we have this part here. And we take this one and let's see how we can wrap this a little bit more interestingly around here. How could we hook this? So maybe around here again. Let me try this one more time, but then it's a bit too high probably here, but it could look interesting this way if we then tie this up here to really make its way around. Or we do it the other way around with getting it in here. Really nestled in here and have this one underneath. That could also look interesting, and we have this one simply growing around here and this one growing around here. Yeah, I think I like this. Let me get some piece of wire. Let's see if we can actually make this adhere somewhat. I don't want to tie it in too strongly. I just want to give it some stability here, like this. Because then we can see how we can still move this around a little bit. But here I like it. It does really fit nicely into this little curve here. And back here, it could grow nicely then around here. We might also prune back the other growth here a little bit then to get a better view of the whole thing. But it just adds a little bit more intricacy to this tree. And here from the back, it looks a bit bare, so maybe we do somehow still move this one in here. So let me open up this wire again. So remove the hook here. And before we hook it, we add this tree here. And then hook it again. To have also this moved on here. Doesn't look like much yet, let's be honest, but I think with time, when this starts to grow and these start to get thicker, and we then remove some of these other branches of the original Ficus microcarpa tree in here, this could really become something interesting. So I think I'm happy with the initial setup, so now we of course need to pot it up. So I'm creating a little hole in here so we can pot this up deeply enough and move some soil around. Thank God we still have some other soil then in here. Making sure everything is covered and adding some of the soil I still have here. Again, maybe without the root. It looks very crazy right now because of course there's also a lot of growth coming from this original tree that for now we might even cut back a little bit. We removed a lot of the roots, so it only makes sense to also take out some of this growth here, for example the lower parts here. So everywhere where it comes really in a mass of growth coming from one growth point, I think it does make sense to remove some of it at least to clean out this tree a little bit and clear it out. Also here in the back. And maybe even up top here, creating somewhat of a fresh start. And then having, of course, the other growth here starting to take over sooner or later, and then really creating something interesting looking out of this, with maybe even leaving the stump on here and then having new growth forming here from the bottom. We have to pot it up deeply now, of course, but later on this should be revealed again. We will see later on then this growth almost like vines coming through the little nooks and crannies of this other tree, adhering to it, and that should really give us an intricate, interesting view. So I hope this experiment will take and is somewhat close to the vision I had for it in the next couple of months and years then. I think more than setting it up right now we cannot do. I think the setup itself is okay, is holding, is adhering. Now the goal is of course to keep this healthy over the next couple of seasons probably, and then see how this will look like in the future. So I'll keep you updated on this once there is again time to work on it. If you enjoyed this video, if you're interested in seeing more of this, feel free to also leave that in the comments or leave a like and let me know. If you enjoy my channel, feel free to subscribe to it, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.